Number 9, 2021 Public Works Committee. Can I get a roll call, please?
Alderman Weggie,
Here.
Alderman Gould,
Here.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Here.
Alderwoman Tice. Here. All members are present.
Great. Move on to the approval of the agenda. Any changes or issues with the agenda? Good by acclamation. All right, citizen comment. Anybody here?
No.
Okay. Go to reports of the committee chair. The only thing I have is December 18th is our electronics recycling event, I believe at the rec center from 8 a.m. to noon. It's amazing. No matter how much I take every quarter, I still have a lot more to take. It's amazing. So that's all I have. Alderman Gould?
No report.
Steve?
Yeah, I would see if the committee would entertain a motion to direct staff to look into converting the existing EV chargers at the rec center to a fee-based type model.
I'd second that.
Okay.
And the reason, I guess since that publicity that was out regarding, and it was in the article that I guess those are free of charge, I got a few emails and a few phone calls that why are we using public money to fuel these vehicles? So that's the reason for my motion.
Any thoughts, Nancy? Any? Jeff?
No, I'd be, you know, I'm totally supportive of looking into it. I think yeah.
Agree. I mean, I think
Yeah, I mean,
knowing what it costs or what it would take to do that is a good thing to know.
Yeah, and I've gotten some emails on that too. I mean, I think it was our first EV chargers, and it was maybe to simplify a little bit. You know, I don't think people are going over there and sitting 6 hours to fuel their car up, but at some point they will. I mean, as soon as somebody at Eagle Bank gets an electric vehicle, they're going to be like, hey, free gas all day long.
And yeah, you know, $65 a month isn't going to break our budget, but I guess it's just the principle of the thing.
All right, so is the motion to start charging or have them look into what it takes to flip that switch?
Yeah, to flip that switch.
All right, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, and Nancy?
No report.
Okay. Moving to item 6, Public Works Department.
Just to, there we go. Some simple updates here. So the 2021 street RFP projects that was completed right around Thanksgiving. So that's the Hanley Industrial Court area. So around Little Fishes, by Metro Lighting, Ice Cream Specialties. If you drive through there, you should see new slabs and looks a lot better. Rosalie Avenue STP. Krupp still has a little bit of this driveway apron by the post office leading out onto Rosalie left to do. The rest of the slabs are done. They're curing them, breaking slabs, and then they'll do the cleanup. They expect to finish that up next week, and then they'll pull off the job site after next week, more than likely, and then wait for the decorative lights, which are due in middle of January. So once the lights come in, the bases are already there. They'll just drop them on the bases, bolt them up, get it wired, and get that energized. And then on the Stormwater Master Plan open house, in your packet, there's information about upcoming advertisements, which I know it's been on social media. Currently, the comment cards or comment applications are due on December 23rd. So within your packet, you'll see a list of addresses that Gonzalez prepared, as well as a map. And if I counted correctly, I think there's like 172 addresses. So I guess one of the questions was, you know, is that sufficient? You know, will more of these trickle in by the 23rd, or do we need to extend the 23rd to a date further in the future, sometime in January, or just leave it alone and just keep advertising it, you know, up until the 23rd?
Yeah, Nancy?
Well, first of all, thank you for putting this document in, because when I looked at it, I have like 4 target areas where I know that there's water runoff, and I've heard people talk about it, and 4 target areas that may have multiple properties at each one. So I'm going to reach out to these people. I'm sure there are more in Ward 1 that I don't know about, but there are definitely quite a few I know about that need to be added to the list, and I will work on getting those folks to participate if they so choose.
Maybe if you give us those addresses, we can just automatically add them to it.
while we're waiting to get additional information from those property owners, because there are a lot of them that staff provided those addresses
Right.
Okay.
to Gonzalez.
Oh, that's, yeah, but one of them is, I can't believe that these two people, and one of them, anyway, but yeah, there's several that are issues.
Yeah, Jeff?
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's, and I just remind everybody that you can fill out the form for any address, any location, right? It doesn't have to be the person that, especially if it's a public street that floods or a problem there. It could be anybody who fills out the complaint, correct?
Correct, right.
Right. So it doesn't have to necessarily be those folks if you know the problem areas. I definitely have a couple of them here that I need to add to the list as well. I also would say that as much advertising that we have done, I don't know that it's ever really enough. And so, maybe if we have a big, again, put together a post that's ready to go in the event of a big rainstorm, and I think then people might be looking on, especially if we get a big rainstorm here in the next month, it might bring people top of mind and go, oh, let me look, So I would just capitalize on those environmental opportunities with the advertising before we close it down. Because I just think that most people just haven't really been aware of it.
So do we think holding it to the 23rd, or Jeff, are you proposing extending it, the due date or the finish date when we shut it down?
I mean, I would, it's hard to say whether or not if we extend it, we get any more, but, and that's why I say if between now and then, there's some rain event that might spur some people to pay attention a little bit more, and recognize. So I would say give it another push somehow, and not to just let it linger, because obviously if they haven't filled it out yet, they're probably not going to just remember all of a sudden, oh, I'm going to go fill that out between now and then. So I think if it's going to close on the 23rd, then we need to do another push for reminding people that this is going on.
Seems like the next door isn't doing it for.
No,
for
I would
this.
say the Facebook community page, that might help more, but, and I know sometimes we have to take responsibility for pulling it and sharing it from the Brentwood page to that.
I was going to ask today if the alderman could do that to help us.
Yeah, I think that's on us to make sure we do, absolutely.
And it might be good to share the list that has already been submitted.
Is that possible? Is that,
It's part of this packet.
so it's
I
public?
don't know if
Yeah.
one can post something like that on Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because as it stands, it's just addresses. It doesn't have anything personal.
Yeah, there are no names there.
Would people not want their house, I mean, it already is public, but would people not want their house number on Facebook?
Probably not. So maybe not share the list, but encourage them to, if they don't even want to fill out the form, they can just send us an email. We can help expedite it.
Yeah, because I know, I spoke with Gonzalez and they said that the submittal is working. So if you submit it on our website, hit the submit button, it goes directly to, they have a shared inbox for all their engineers to pull the comment cards from.
Okay, so is that clear direction, I guess,
That's what I'm wondering. Are you clear?
Yeah, and to me, it sounds like we're just gonna keep it as the 23rd and, we'll try to push other ways over these next couple of weeks. And by the time we meet as a board on the 20th, we'll know if we went from 172 to maybe 200 or maybe a little bit more. I don't know. I don't know what the
Get an
magic
update on the
threshold
20th.
is.
maybe we get an update on the 20th, and if we feel we need to extend it, that would be the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it'd just be days before the deadline, so.
Okay.
And that was it, unless you have any questions.
What about your MSD item?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. So MSD, I know, there's several different projects that they're wanting to do for a public stormwater system. Before they didn't have any money, now they're trying to push to get money. So I believe that there's a meeting that they're trying to get scheduled, like several town halls I believe that's in January that they can come and speak with us. I can reach out to them and get some exact dates, but, you know, basically they're needing more tax dollars to address these stormwater issues. You know, they don't have enough. Right now, most of their money I know goes towards operations.
So my thought on this was just have them come to the full board instead of a smaller subset, so everybody has questions. Okay,
Okay,
thanks, Dan.
thanks.
All right, Parks and Rec?
So I don't have technically anything on the report, but I can give you a quick update on what it takes to charge for ChargePoint for the EV stations. So everything that we do is gets run through a website. So ultimately, I think I can probably figure that out and get that updated whenever the committee or the board wants. I don't know if this goes to the board, if it's a committee decision. The other thing would be whether or not we want to discuss what we would charge. I mean, we're currently being charged, still, it's around 12 cents a kilowatt hour. Is this something we want to just kind of break even? Do we want to make a little bit of money? One of the things we could do too is sell advertising on the screen. You're not going to get much for that, obviously, but we could look into that too. So again, I was like, oh, I could do this now. I need to watch a video again. So I'm not quite ready to switch it over, but probably could have something updated next week if that's what the committee wants to do.
Wait, yes, Steve?
So you said next week?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, all it is I have the control to be able to turn on the pricing. I just need to know how much and get everything set up properly.
Well, I would say, I guess maybe next meeting. And then we'd probably need to you know, we probably wouldn't want to make it immediately active. Maybe we'd want to set this to happen early in the next year instead of just blindly say, all
So
of a
what
sudden
About
it's charging.
January 1, the new year.
Yeah, but we won't have
It would go
one of these
to-
meetings.
So you want it to come back to Public Works before it goes to the board?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
And I
So
can-
then it'll be January or February.
So I compare, you know, basically the basis of how we would do it and how we charge it and talk about recommendations on a fee. And I can bring that back to the committee next month.
Yeah, I'd be curious like what Richmond Heights is doing. They have, I think, 8 chargers outside their rec center.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, and then Eric, anything on Suscom?
We do have something small, but we'll be talking about it here in a little bit.
All right, and then I don't think we have anything from planning and development.
Nothing.
Okay, move into old business, 7A, Great Rivers Greenway.
Yeah, if you recall from our previous meeting, we wanted to explore the option of extending that trail since the playground over by Florence and Mary is being removed, basically straightening that out. So if you recall, we engaged the services of TWM to do that design work. And they did, and they came back with a cost magnitude in a change order, as well as they prepared some drawings, which are part of your packet. So if you look at what they prepared, the anticipated cost is $23,852.25. And what that would get you is a consistently wide path. It wouldn't neck down around that playground area. It would be the new base, of course, materials that match the rest of it. It goes all the way up to Florence, and then it's the new thermoplastic markings across that intersection. It's warning signs on either side. That's what you get for that roughly $24,000 amount. I spoke with Craig with Navigate. He said that would come out of contingency. There is enough money to afford it if you choose to push it forward. And what we would need to do, the next step would be to get everyone's approval, and then we would take it to MoDOT. MoDOT would build it into their contract as a change order. Their contractor, KCI, would build it, and then we would just be obligated to pay the actual cost, which is what we're doing now with anything that's related to our part.
Yeah, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is the right thing to do. It adds a lot more safety in the intersection there at that sort of 8-way intersection that is there at Mary and Dorothy and Florence are, and so, I mean, I think we would need to do this eventually anyway, and it's not going to get cheaper to do down the road. So I would make a motion that we move forward with the plan as revised, and move it to the full board for approval.
I'll second.
Questions, comments?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
All right?
Anyone opposed? Great.
Okay.
All right, trees.
Okay. We'll do a tag team on this one since we were all part of the same meeting. We met with MSD, Eric, Whitney, and myself to go over what was all happening with this, get the project number right here. It's 11212, which is the MSD project number they assigned to it. So it's Bridgeport, White, Rosalie, those streets going east of Brentwood Boulevard where there's either storm sewer or sanitary sewers that are being upgraded. So if you recall from the previous meeting, there were 9 trees that were impacted on White Avenue. When we spoke with MSD, they said that the trees along the other streets, Bridgeport and Rosalie, those are fine. Those are fine. It's the White Avenue ones they've looked at. They can't shift the sewer towards the street because there's other utilities there, and then you have to have separation between sanitary and water. They can't really shift it closer to the curb because it puts it even closer to the trees. And anything they put along that edge that's near the trees, that's anywhere within the root zone or drip line, it's going to impact the trees. So that being said, the 9 trees do need to come out. If they didn't come out and they laid past them, they would do damage and they would eventually die anyways. So there's some highlights from the meeting. I kind of went over that. We did talk about, could you bore the sewer line in? And the answer was no, because they're still going to have open excavations for tying in laterals. So you might be able to bore the trunk line in, the bigger pipe, but anywhere that there's a service connection, you're going to have to open up the road anyways and possibly damage the tree. So they identified those areas. Then we talked about the valuations of those trees. So the way it was explained in the meeting, that staff, Parks, would lose 158 caliper inches. That's if you add up those 9 trees. And that typically when Parks plants a tree, it's at least a 3-inch diameter. Well, MSD said, well, whenever they figure out cost of trees, they use 1.5 inch. So we're already off there, double in size for what we do. So MSD, they gave us their matrix that they've used other places. MSD had offered $9,450 using their matrix, and I know Eric's group put together a cost estimate of a little over $37,000. So there's this big delta between what we think it's worth and what they're offering. So right now, this is for information, and we're seeking guidance on next steps. It seems like the one that we're really off on, I guess, would be the oak, but I'll let Eric talk to that.
Yeah, I think the big thing when we talked to MSD is that they had a matrix in place already that they use when there's any sort of tree removal. They started, of course, by saying MSD doesn't have to, MSD has the right to remove trees, and really municipalities don't have any recourse of action, but to be a good partner, they have this matrix to try to work with the city. So the big thing is, when we talked at the last meeting about, caliper inch and how, the fact that we're losing caliper inches. And so that's where that 37,000 came from. If we just went 1 for 1, obviously we would ask for 9 trees at 7,000. That'd be a little bit less, right around $6,700, something like that. With what they're proposing, we would get at least 13 trees. And so we'll at least get a little bit additional caliber replacement. But again, as Dan said, the real question is, are we happy with our offer? Are we going to get a better offer? Do we counter those type of things?
Are you happy?
I'm never happy when we lose trees, but I mean, especially, I mean, the oak's already gone, but that was
Right.
obviously the nicest of the tree. And again, some of the smaller trees, it's a shame because those are a year or two old. And if we would have known that this project was coming by, we could have put those in a vacant site and then let the, plant afterwards. So it's unfortunate, but I think the idea when you look at their matrix, for every tree under 8 inch, they give 2 1.5 inch caliber trees. For every 9 to 14, they go 4, 15 to 20, they do 6, but then anything over 21, they only give 8. And that's where the big difference is. So when you start to get into those bigger trees, you just don't get the replacement per MSD's matrix.
Anyone else, other questions? Hey, Eric, did the arborist participate in that meeting as well? I mean, does he agree that going through the route, that construction would likely kill the trees?
Yeah, we talked. I mean, he wasn't technically in the meeting, but we had the discussion beforehand, and he knows where the plan is going, or the idea of the plan is going through. And he said you take out that much tree root, and it's not a matter of if, it's just when. I mean, they might hold on for a couple of years, but then you're also knowing the fact that you have a hazardous tree that could fall or fail at any time, and then the city becomes liable for something like that.
Okay, what do you all want to do?
Is there any other negotiation with them?
I mean, we can try, but I mean, I think MSC will go back to the point of, one is we don't have to do anything. We're, a utility. We have the right to do it. And two, this is a matrix we use with every other municipality, St. Louis County. I mean, they developed it initially with St. Louis County, which is why they have that 1.5 inch, because they're doing park work. And yeah, you can get away with an 1.5 inch tree in a park, but when you get a street tree, you're going to want something a little bit more substantial. So that's why we go ball and burlap. So I think it's, they at least didn't tell us, sorry, we had to take down 9 trees for this project. I mean, at least we're getting $9,500 that we can put back into 13 trees.
I'll make a motion that we just accept the offer and move on.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? Sad.
Yeah.
All right,
Can I just ask a question? Eric, I guess of Dan, I mean, how do we not have this happen again? At least a heads up, or
That's one thing we talked about in the meeting is how we get a better
communication?
from them. And I think they say what they typically always say. And I think Dan will agree is that they do the best they can. They know MSD actually doesn't actually look at tree removal when they do their plans. They leave it up to the contractor. So when MSD submitted their plans, it was without the trees because they had no idea. It wasn't until Luth came through to really kind of figure out what they're doing that they realized they had to remove those trees. Even in that aspect, though, that should have been in a permit that came to the city. I think, we've always talked about the more we can get in knowledge of maybe the next 3 to 5 years of projects, then we can at least look at, okay, hey, White, they're doing sewer replacements, probably going to be in one side or the other. Maybe we should hold off on replacing trees there and move them to other vacant sites until they're through. And I think that's the path forward for the city.
I don't know if this is a situation that's unique to the city of Brentwood. I want to think that they do this everywhere. So maybe talking to Pat Kelly might help, that maybe if they hear from the municipal league, they begin to either take this seriously, or the city could also send a letter to the head of the organization just to let them know this doesn't sit well with the city. So there are a number of things that we can do to get their attention.
Well, it's not just MSD. I mean, we just got done paving Strassner, and it's already got markings on it to be dug up.
Russell, I mean, they just came through and did work on Russell after we just got done with that street a couple years ago.
They tore up, is it Bridgeport 2, near Pat King's house?
But I mean, there's no way of knowing. I mean, they just don't go, okay, let's go dig over here today.
It's because they have money, and they want to react rather quickly, and because they're a utility and there's power with being a utility, they don't always have to get our permission.
Okay.
At least easier to work with than UP. I'll give them that.
All right, move on to item 8A, compost.
Back again. This is a good one. So this is basically the same application that I put in for over a year ago that we did in 2021 that was to purchase the tumblers and the little stainless steel kitchen pails. I'd gotten approval from Department of Public Health. And in order to move forward with this particular project in 2022, I would need a favorable outcome from this meeting then to the full board, because we have to do a resolution to enter into an agreement with Department of Public Health. So a little bit of good news on this one. I thought they made a mistake as I started writing the resolution. In the contract, it says $9,970. I only asked for $7,000. And I asked if that was a mistake, and they're like, well, we thought we'd give you more because we weren't going to spend it all. Some of the other cities didn't ask for as much, so we threw more your way because we knew you had a successful project this year. I was like, okay. So it's $9,970, not $7,000. So I got to raise the bar a little higher. Now I have to put more of these out. We did about 60 of them, so I'm thinking maybe 70, 75, and I would hit my target, which I don't think we'll have an issue because I'm sure some people want to buy an extra one that already had one, and I don't think we mind if people want to have 2 tumblers. I mean, because I'm sure there's some people that would never do this whatsoever, but at least this gives you the option of more people, blanketing a bigger audience. So that's what we're looking for, is a motion to take this to the big board and enter into an agreement.
Yeah, Jeff.
Quick question. So with the grant, we are paying for the actual product that we needed to buy, right? Or that we're getting
Correct.
it.
Initially,
So it doesn't cost the city anything. We have to put it up front, and then
we get reimbursed.
we get reimbursed, and then the citizens that want them, they pay a reduced rate for them? Is that how this?
Correct.
I
The way it
forget
worked
how it
this
works.
year was that they paid, I believe it was $30, and then they got a total combined worth of maybe like $120 is what I was purchasing those complete sets for. And then we assembled it, delivered it to your doorstep, and then all you had to do was find a place in your yard for it. So I would do the same thing. And I had to buy some stickers, and we did a webinar too with Missouri Botanical Garden, and everything was just a duplication, a cut and paste is what I did for the application. And they liked the last one. Obviously, they like this one because they're giving you more money to do a little bit bigger project.
So you have the time of your team to put them together and deliver them.
Yeah, I would do everything the same unless you think we should do something different, but
The
I think it
webinar
worked
was a
out well.
Requirement to get the compost. Yeah.
Right, this is, yeah, part of their, I don't know if it's part of an ordinance or what, but I know that they said, well, they need us to enter into an agreement, and I know we did a resolution last year. So at the end of 20, I think it was like maybe November of 20, we did a resolution.
Do they get that little canister, kitchen canister too?
I was gonna do everything the same. I mean, of course I have to competitively bid it. I read their language is a little bit different. Before, I could just do like 2 quotes. This one says 3, so I'm gonna have to do a little more research, but I like what we had. I'll look for something similar, see if there's maybe something cheaper, but those were like, when you bought them in bulk, they wound up being around $20. And then the big tumbler was over 100.
Yeah, Nancy.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution attached to the agenda and execute the agreement with the St. Louis County Department of Health to be reimbursed for up to $9,970.
Second.
Great. Any questions, comments?
Good.
Yeah, Steve.
Well, Dan, thanks for doing such a great job the first round, that they're throwing more money at us the second round.
I know.
so.
Yeah, also, I got some great feedback from the people who received these. I think this is a great way that we are really touching the residents, and it's a great program.
Yeah, and the only thing I would say is I hadn't thought about people getting multiple ones, but I would say we'd want to open it up for people who haven't gotten one yet. And then if you have a hard time getting rid of them, maybe then but I don't think you will.
Yeah, and I have the list. It's all in an Excel spreadsheet. So, I mean, if someone already had one, I would try to get as many as we could that
Right.
were the first time applications.
Were there ones that didn't get any?
There were only like 2 on a wait list because we had hit the mark, and then I'm putting together, I've got receipts, and they have a form that you send in, and then we'll be getting a check either very end of this year or January. And that was for 7,000, and I spent over 9, so I know I can hit this mark.
Yeah, Jeff?
I mean, just an idea. I think if we're looking to increase the penetration of these in the community, I think, you know, reaching out to the ones that have had it and maybe get Amber or somebody to do kind of a video testimonial of how much they like it. If you know, it might be kind of a fun thing for, you know, to push out and get more people excited about it and maybe even show how it works.
Great idea.
Okay, any other comments, questions? All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Great. All right, 8B, Eric, you back up? Chainsaw on you guys back and forth all night.
No, we need to coordinate this better, Dan. So the Sustainability Commission, at their last meeting, discussed the addition or the option of adding additional EV charging stations in the city. And obviously with the information that came out, you saw that Ameren still has like $5 million left to spend by the end of next year. It seems like they're having a tough time getting people to do this. So the commission said two things, like, you know, after a discussion, they said, let's look at City Hall next. City Hall seems to be the next logical location. And then could we work with planning development to maybe push something out to hotels to say, hey, you know, do you know that Ameren has this grant? This might be a good addition to your hotel. I mean, the new Marriott already has them. I can't remember if Drury has them or not, but Drury would be one, the other Marriott would be the other. So that's what their recommendation was. So, you know, obviously it's very similar to last time we talked about this. It's still 50% for level 2 or a DC fast charger. DC fast charger is obviously more expensive. Maximum incentive is 50%. I did talk to our vendor we used last time, IBP, and they said that really because of supply issues that prices have increased about 8%, and they estimated using about $9,000 per charging station. Obviously, that's varied based on electric cost, and so that's really always the unknown. So if approved, you know, it'd be about $18,000. We get $9,000 of that back, and so we have $20,000 in the budget for sustainability initiatives, so we could pay for it and then get reimbursed for it all within that fund. So they got a full recommendation from the Sustainability Commission, and so we are bringing it here for consideration.
Yeah, Nancy?
So with assuming that there's 20,000 in the budget for sustainability, is this one of the top priorities of the Sustainability Commission? Sort of aware that it's chipping, you know, about half the money away from the funds for that?
I don't know if that's to me or Eric. But
Yeah, I mean, I think what the issue with Sustainability Commission right now is that we're completing the plan, and the plan's going to set the guidelines for their initiatives moving forward. And so we're probably still a couple months, probably 6 months away from getting that done the way we're going. And so once we have that done, we'll have it ready to kind of really set for 23 on forward. I know the discussion that they've had is the EV charging station was one thing they wanted to do. We're also going to be working on the energy audit for the municipal facility, so that's something else that will come out next year. But those have been the two big things they've talked about. Beyond, you know, electric fleet, and that's way down the road, so we'll have to talk about that during budget times.
Well, I'll just keep, if I can keep going.
please.
I'm supportive of it. I think it's a great program. I think the fact that we're getting so much money back from Ameren for this makes it appealing. And then I think if there are concerns about costs or paying for electricity, I think Alderman Lockmueller's motion earlier is something we can look at and see what other communities are doing.
Yes, Steve?
So we're looking at 9,000 per charger, so we're 2 chargers?
That was staff's recommendation. That was my recommendation. When you look at City Hall's parking lot, there's, you know, we don't want to go 4. We have 4 currently at the rec center, so we could even look at, depending on where, I know Dan has some suggestions on maybe location based on where electric is run, but we could even, you know, that wall behind us, we can do a couple wall stations right on the corner. We could go around. If you go around the issue in the parking, the library parking is just, there's not a whole lot of library parking. So it might be easier to keep it on that side. So the recommendations too, you know, obviously we'd bring a recommendation back. This is just to get approval to at least start talking to vendors, because that's the next step, is talk to vendors, bring back a recommendation on the vendor, and then we would take that to the board.
So once again, the cost is 18,000 or 9,000?
If we do two, it'd be 18 with getting half of that back.
And plus the electrical runs.
Well, electrical's within that 9,000, so that's why we don't know exactly the cost. That's why I have to bring the vendors out.
How many spaces?
It's typically one space per charging station.
Spaces, okay. The only concern I have is the duration, the user of that charger here at City Hall. You know, we don't really ever look at the duration of a stay of somebody that may drive here to charge one of these vehicles.
Right now, the rec center is averaging about an hour and 30 minutes. And if you think about a committee meeting, a board meeting, things like that, when people would come to these type of stuff, that is kind of, I think, within line of what they'd be spending the time to do. I think you'll actually get use of people while they'll have to go around the corner. Library users would use it as well. So I think you get that sort of patronage out of it. And then ultimately, if, you know, as the committee goes further and further down the road, the simple, it's been discussed already, the simplest vehicle, fleet vehicle would be like a planning vehicle. And if you want that, then you'd already have the infrastructure here to charge it.
Just have to work with the scheduling of when the public's using it and when we need it so we can get city business done to get to place. What about, I have another concern with the one just right down the street here, and then we've got one right here, the two down at the rec center, and a block away, we've got another set of them here. Tesla's got a dozen of them up at Promenade. Could these possibly be used? Do we have time to maybe put these at the Comfort Station down in Brentwood Bound? Would it make more sense there?
The issue with that is that it needs, once you get approval, you have to have installation within 6 months. And the timeline for the project is the end of '22. So if if that's, the committee wants to do that, we could delay the application, but we'd probably be looking into '23 before we'd actually be able to submit for reimbursement. And the program they've discussed is basically the end of '22. Now, they think they're gonna get more money with the infrastructure bill, but they're just not sure yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Alderman Lockmuller in that it's the placement of it. I think we're trying to find a place to take advantage of the incentive, and I don't know that that's the right thing to do when we've got such a low percentage of people that might even be using them. I think that the other issue that I have with it is all of the stuff that I applaud Alderwoman Tice for implementing it correctly at her house, where she's got solar panels that then, power it, and that's how you actually make it sustainable. So I think it makes a perfect sense for spreading this out in our city and putting it maybe in the Comfort Station. Isn't that going to be finished here in the next?
The Comfort Station, is a different project than the parking lot. So
Okay.
when you talk about the parking
I
lot, the
got you.
parking lot's a whole different.
Understood.
Right now, we have 5 different contractors.
And we
down there.
couldn't rough it in and like, because it just seems like if we could tie into the solar panels that we already have, that actually tells a better sustainability story than throwing them here.
And to be honest, the commission did speak about the parking lot down in Brentwood Bound, down in Brentwood Park. And knowing that wouldn't be online till '23, I think their view, and Alderman Wiggin can agree or disagree with this, is that we could do the city hall this year and then do the parking lot down there next year, and really continue to kind of create this web of charging stations throughout the city.
Yeah, I mean, I think that given the budget discussion that we had, where we have a lot of departments that are not going to have capital expenditures, it seems a little tone deaf to say, hey, let's just spend this money on something. Even if it is a fairly small amount of money, I just think maybe now's not the right time to do it, and try to do it in a better place like the Comfort Station area, where people will be spending presumably several hours. And and people from not only, you know, around the region, but our neighborhood folks will actually be going there and would likely use it if they have if you drove there. So I would table this, to be honest with you.
I will say, I know in conversations with the library that they have expressed interest in this as well. And I think the same rationale of, you know, why Metro Lighting and some of these businesses have chargers is, you know, they're trying to get business in, right? And so it's a selling point, I guess, to them, or they think it is. And I think that the library has expressed interest in that as well. Yeah, Nancy?
Is this something that we think the library might want to share the cost on, that, you know, maybe we split the cost? Okay. No, we, yeah.
Well, they wanted to pay for that bike rack, but we figured we'd spend more on lawyers figuring out the liability of a tenant, you know, doing it than the cost of the thing.
Well, I think Jeff made the motion to table this, and I'd second that motion.
Good.
To the next meeting.
Table to the next, yeah. Could I add to the table that maybe staff investigate the timing of putting it at the, you know, it sounds like you sort of, you know what you're doing with the timing for the parking lot, but if we could talk to Craig and get a little bit more about that between now and the next meeting.
I would agree to that amendment. I mean, I think even if there's a way to, like, you know, what's defined as installed, you know, if there's some way to stub it in, and that way it's just finally, you know, just, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think the other thing that, assuming you guys will be okay with this, is have the conversation with Ameren too, because while we might be able to rough it in, Ameren might not consider that a completed
what I mean.
project, and we might lose out of their
Right, well,
incentive
that's what I
quota,
mean.
so.
Just
We'll
kind
do
of
that too.
investigate that a little bit
Yep.
more.
Yes, Steve?
I think that would give us some time to at least approve the 2022 budget before we go spending it already. Just my thought.
Okay. All those in favor of the amended motion, I think? Aye, say aye.
All right,
All right, anyone opposed? Okay.
Great.
All right, move on to item 9A. Any citizens pop in?
No.
Okay, all right. Looking for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
second,
All right, all in favor?
all right.
All right, thanks, everybody.
So we just got our electric bill.